Right. Hey, I'm good. Hold on, let me make sure I can hear you well. Where are you right now?
In the dungeon.
Where's the dungeon?
It's the boat room. It's the art space of all creativity.
What city?
Oh, in Seattle, downtown.
Oh, you're in Seattle?
Yeah.
I didn't realize that.
I just moved back over here. I left quite a bit.
Where were you living?
Ohio first.
Whoa.
That's where I'm from originally.
Okay,
So
nice.
go ahead and introduce yourself and what you do.
Okay, I am.
Guy Keltner, and I front a band called Acid Tongue. I also perform in a band in Mexico City called Mala Suerte, and I have a festival called Freak Out.
Freak out. Okay. I guess how'd you come up with acetone?
Um, well, I've been writing those songs for a long time, and I think when I was younger, I used to play music to try and be part of a scene or to try and do some sound that I wanted to make. And all the while, I kept making these very personal songs that weren't going into any of the projects I was doing. And eventually, that was the genesis of Acid Tongue. I started to show these songs to my friends and some of the folks in my life that were like, why is this not your band? Why aren't you doing this, you know? And at the time I was going through a hard time in Seattle. I used to work over at Nemo's and Barbosa and all that. I was the marketing guy back then when I was younger.
Oh.
This is almost a decade ago. And I just hit a rut. And I started recording this music, and it just made a lot of sense in my life. And it was kind of the last sort of desk job, full-time job I had in that era. And I just got rid of everything. I got laid off because I was a fucking terrible worker. And they were super cool though. They kind of gave me like a severance. And it was just enough for me to like survive for a bit and figure shit out, you know?
Yeah.
And so I hit the road. I kind of left. I left the country. I went to Europe for a while, and I was toured in London and stuff. And I checked some boxes, you know, that I wanted to do.
Yeah.
And the band really came out of that. I just started meeting a lot of people on the road.
Alright, so how did you end up in Mexico City for making a band?
That was complicated too. Yeah. Well, my mom's Mexican. And my dad works there. So our family, you know, we have a family home in Mexico. So I don't have a family. My uncle does.
Okay.
But he's living in the home where my mom's siblings were born.
Right.
So I have family in Mexico City, and I have these close friends I met out there.
And they were really crucial to me getting invested in the community. I met this couple, Jasmina and Miguel, and they run something called Monkey Bee Festival, and they also play in bands. The biggest band they have between them is called Carry On Kids, and it's this really intense Mexico City punk band that I love.
I really like the punk scene there in general is incredible. So,
how did you come about Freak Out?
It was definitely partying.
Party. So it's a
Party.
Freak Out, is it?
Yeah. It was drugs and alcohol and all that. Like
My favorite.
yeah, we started.
It was was a bunch of friends, really, in the beginning, and we used to hang out and drink and smoke weed and talk shit. And I was touring a lot with metal bands, and I started meeting, these cool artists on the road that weren't getting enough attention, and were also struggling to have a good experience on the road in Seattle. I feel like a lot of people would play here and it would really suck. And they'd be like, man, I didn't like Seattle, I didn't like going there. And I'd be like, no, it's not so bad, we can do something about that. So the original year, it was only a couple venues we did a metal bar called the Highline. We had it at a gay club called Neighbors, and at a dance studio called Velocity. And they weren't even that close together, they were all on Capitol Hill. And it was a couple blocks between each, so it's kind of a pain in the ass. And we did it in December the first year, so it was like 8 degrees at the time. It fucking sucked. But like the event was awesome. I mean, everybody had a great time, We just, in the middle of like the worst weather you ever had, and these just totally different like clubs too. I think that was like the funniest part about it, was going between all these places,
Yeah, it can be that. So like, what kind of inspired you to start making music to begin with?
I think it was just a compulsion. My parents got me into it at a young age, and
Take lessons?
I did. I had a good teacher. My dad.
There used to be this magazine in Seattle called The Rocket. So when we moved up here, I had already had the guitar. I had already been fucking around with it, and my dad was reading The Rocket and found an ad for a teacher that had been like a session player for Bo Diddley and Etta James and all these like great like soul and R&B artists and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And he had done really cool gigs for these other great artists, and so he didn't take students that were young, and I was a kid, and my dad insisted and like took me to go meet this guy. His name's Al Katz.
Okay.
And he taught me how to play like rhythm. Really, like he taught me how to play everything, but that's just kind of what I took away the most, was how to have fucking rhythm. And he was a great teacher, and we're still really close.
He's kind of a father figure.
So yeah, to mention like kind of like the grassroots of the beginnings here. So like, do you remember like some of like the first songs you learned how to play, and that like what got you started?
Yeah, I remember learning how to play this like rock steady song called "Stop That Train."
Okay, Stop That Train. Hell yeah.
Yeah, it's a
All
great
right.
tune. It was one of the first songs I ever learned how to play, and yeah, I remember learning how to play Pipeline, that surf song.
Nice.
Stuff like that. Like, it was like all about mastering the craft in a really simplistic way. I never really got into like complicated solos and things like that. I played along with the Van Halen records and stuff when I was like, a teenager and everything, but it's just not something that I ever wanted to really wrap my brain around too much, and I prefer to make my guitar sing,
One thing about Van Halen, I'm a fan. Whenever I was younger, I'd listen to a lot more, but
Yeah,
now
me
the
too.
order, I'm like, what were you thinking mixing that kind of synthesizer sound with like this crazy, like, classic 80s rock, like riff? And then you're like, if you look at it today, you're like, damn, nobody's doing that now. Like, that was a good era for like rock music and its own thing. Like, and it's kind of also an inspiration for a lot of bands that came out like later 80s and like 90s and that kind of stuff.
Absolutely.
Definitely.
One of my favorite bands, like
of all time. And I saw Van Halen at the Key Arena. I remember doing that when I was a teenager. We were up front. It was awesome.
Some of these most essential 5 questions. If you were stranded on an island, but you could only take one thing with you, what would you bring?
My guitar.
Your guitar. What was your first guitar?
It was like a shitty Squire Stratocaster, a red one. I still have it. It's in my closet.
I didn't get rid of that.
I have like this electro harmony that was like white and black.
And like, I still wish that I kept that because like everything about my guitar rocked, you know? Yeah, there's only one guitar
That I've sort of like lost. There's two. One got crushed on tour in Mexico. Someone was trying to get into our van at a toll booth, and they didn't get in. But the handle got fucked up.
And so we were driving down the road after the toll booth, and the back of the van swung open, and all of our guitars fell out in the middle of the road. We were outside of Leon in Mexico, and fucking semi-trucks, we're trying to run into the road to go grab the guitars, the truck goes by and doesn't slow down, and it just fucking crushed all of our guitars. And I had this really nice, like, custom built, sort of like a Jaguar, but with like P90s in it. And yeah, it was like pedal. Like what kind of stuff? Yeah, it was one of those yellow MXR pedals. The distortion. What kind of?
Yeah, something you use today. I don't use a lot of pedals. I have a tremolo. I like tremolo. I have that on a lot of my tunes.
Most of my tunes. I use a delay. Right now I used to use like the macro filter delay. But they're a little pricier and they break a lot. And so I started using these like cheap clone delays that you can get online. And it's an analog. It's like an analog delay, but it doesn't break as easily. I can like trash the thing. I kick it around and stuff. And, like, I'm not very nice to my pedals. I'm always traveling with like a soft case because I go to Europe a lot and everything. But we're not a big band, so like I don't have like big band budget to like run like flight cases and shit. You know, I'm doing things on a shoestring, and so I'm careful with how many pedals I bring and what kind of pedals I bring. Oh, the tube screamer is the crucial one. I kind of use the tube screamer sometimes even as like a fuzz.
Right.
And when I fuck with it, like it does a lot. There's whole shows where I can mess with my volume knob and it changes how the tube screamer sounds. So I like that.
About the DS1 right now, like I like how whenever you adjust certain tones, you're really able to bring out different volumes and everything. Do you remember like what you first started recording with?
How so? Meaning like the kind of guitar you first started recording with?
Like
pedals
or like if it was tape or USB
or
like that.
When I started recording, we recorded at home. I was in a band in high school called Shoddy. We used to play like the Firehouse and like the Barricade, all ages venues in town. Like we were doing all the house parties and shit as teenagers, and we had the main guy that played in the band with me. His dad had bought a house really early on the east side, so they were like the ones with a decent house. They had a basement with space to record. Yeah, I forget the program we used to use, but like it was a program we used for audio, but you could use for video too. So we weren't even using like Pro Tools or some shit like that. We were like in some janky situation. But that's how we all learned how to do all that stuff. And I've recorded on everything now, you know, I've used tape, I prefer to go digital still. Yeah. For ease, yeah. I mean, tape is a lot of fun. And if you're willing to just make tough decisions quickly, it's the way to go. Like, if you have a simple idea, I say do that, you know, it's really fun. I love it. I've done a few things on tape that are super cool. But it's also expensive. It's expensive. There's a high bar for entry, and right now I'm just trying to produce as much quality shit as I can, and time is a factor. So I don't have tape time.
Yeah, I think like whenever artists start out with tape and then like when it switches over to studio, you kind of also get the picture, but also like you still kind of appreciate the stuff that's lo-fi in a way. And I think that's also why some people mix it up, because some songs are meant to be the best it can and shape it up. what I like about like tape is like it's like the new way of like the new way of changing how things can be, because now everything is like I can use my iPhone to click record and hear the room or whatever, and
Yeah.
you know, and like that's where I'm like, okay, like it still has its own perks. But like
Steve Lacy did some of his. I like Steve Lacy. He did some shit on an iPhone. Like,
yeah,
and he's on that fucking Kendrick record. I think the Kendrick beat he did was on GarageBand.
yeah, GarageBand has like a lot to offer, I feel.
Actually, I'm gonna give you well, it's not even that much of a secret. I feel like I've talked about this. I do like 90% of my demos in GarageBand still.
Oh, like just like tracking and getting it done.
I get all of my vocal ideas done. I get all my guitar, I work out my guitar. It's just like, because it's so easy to cut and paste everything like a sketch. It's almost like having a post-it note more than using another program. And I've tried it with other programs, but I can't. There's just this quickness. I can do a GarageBand demo in like fucking 8 minutes.
I think,
What
like Logic has to offer is like the vast different like ideas for mixing and busting stuff and trying to like pan out stuff. And I feel like with GarageBand, it's like the new way of like having like a tape recorder.
It is, and then you know what's funny? I never thought this would happen, but it's happened so much. Like some of the stems that I use in these sessions end up getting used later.
Yeah.
I'm not using the track at all. Like, but the tracks are kind of painting a picture so that when I go in the studio, I replace everything. And once in a while, I'll toss in one of these. I'm like, fuck, I can't beat that guitar thing I got. Like, I'm just gonna fucking use the little demo thing, and it stays. And there's a couple songs like I can like point to in our discography where I'm like, oh yeah, that riff right there is the GarageBand bit. So that's pretty cool because like I feel like the records are like we're putting out records where it sounds like we spent 10-20 grand on them, and
it sounds like you're in a studio, not in your bedroom all the time or something.
Yeah, and I'm in my bedroom a lot. The best part is I've gotten better at like recording vocals at home, and I've got the right compressors and shit. Like I don't know, I'm getting smarter at some of that stuff. And it's way better for me to do vocals at home a lot because I do so much layering in our music that I like having a little bit of time on my own to do that and work it out. So it's nice because if like a project's getting delayed, I can always go home and finish little bits of things and don't need to go back in the studio to do it.
So some fun
vital questions. I'll shoot out there. Would you rather eat a bunch of beetles, or would you rather smoke a gigantic bowl of live fleas? Fleas? Yeah.
A whole bowl of fleas, or eat a bunch of.
So do I want burnt fleas? I'd probably eat the beetles. I'd eat the beetles, but I'd pick how I eat them. I'm just gonna throw that bit in there. I'll find a way to cook those. I'll like toast them because I've eaten like crickets and grasshoppers and shit like that. You know what I mean? Like,
gotta give it again.
You do that. Like in Mexico, they put them in fucking guacamole.
I think I could handle guacamole.
And it's really good. And they grind up bugs, and it's a spice. So
yeah, exactly.
I'm not. Yeah, like I can do that part, but putting a fucking flea in my lung. I already put enough shit in my lungs. I don't need any more shit in my lungs.
I maybe would like smoke a bunch of bed bugs. Another funny one is if you had a time machine, would you go forwards or backwards, and why?
I bet everybody says backwards, don't they?
You'll be amazed.
I can't see forwards with the way things are going right now. Too far forwards and you risk not even being able to breathe.
Okay.
So yeah, but I would hate going backwards too. I don't know. I kind of feel like I was born at the right time.
Born at the right time.
Like I don't know. Women didn't have fucking rights like 40 years ago. It was hard to be gay 40 years ago. It was hard to do a lot of shit. And then there's like times I want to go back to and see. Though I would go backwards and I would try to see some crazy shit like Rome or some. You know what I mean? Like fuck it. Like
I'd be fucking uncomfortable. I'd probably get stabbed in the first 10 minutes, but like, at least I'd get a glimpse of this fucking great civilization. I'd like to go back to the Ice Age and see if Graham Hancock is right. Like,
Going back
did we have an ancient civilization that was thriving during the Ice Age that we don't know about? You know,
I guess
that's what I would have to know.
the moment that you hit the Ice Age, you're probably like frozen and dead because it's so fucking.
Oh, not if you're at the equator, man. That was prime time real estate back then.
Prime time. Yeah, an essential, one is like, what kind of movies do you like?
Oh, I love a lot of different types of movies. I think of movies in decades sometimes too, but I watch a lot of old movies, and I really like the cinema from the 30s, like pre-code movies like that, before the MPAA and all that shit was involved in Hollywood, the religious freaks took over. So there's a lot of great old movies that you should check out from that era. I love Mae West movies. And then the 70s movies. They're so fucking dark. Like, everything's always a sad ending. So fucked up. The main character dies, There's just a bunch of great cinema from the 70s and I'm obsessed with it. So, what have I been watching lately? I haven't had a chance to sit and watch movies recently. I've been traveling a bit. I went to Guatemala with Mom's birthday. That was fun. I was just in LA for a week with Acid Town. I'm gonna go back to Europe for a while in the spring and again in the fall.
For all creative projects too.
What?
For all creative projects too.
Yeah, I think it's been a nice time because I get to do a little something with everything. Like, Freak Out is fucking intense right now, man. It's finally become a real gig. So, that went from being a fucking joke to, a serious life passion. And this weekend is the big festival, the Weekender.
You play as well?
Actually, for the first time in 12 years, I'm not going to play my own event.
Oh, okay.
Literally the first time in 12 years. I'm burned, man, and I'm playing so much right now. And I also think, not that I give a fuck what anybody else thinks about what the fuck I do, because if you got a problem, get your own fucking festival. You know what I mean? But there is sort of a growing chorus of people that feel like I'm just like playing the shit out of myself. And I don't know what things this year that I feel really good. So I put a series of the calendar, I was like, what? I'm gonna set this one out. I'm gonna go and tell them. I'm gonna go support everybody. I'm gonna go tell them that it's been bugging me to start playing out events to shut the fuck up now, because I'm not playing anymore. And,
That's seriously, if you got a problem with me playing my shit, get your own fucking festival.
Alright, some essential Bible questions though. This is like a good one though. What do you think your spiritual animal is?
A cat. It's gotta be a cat.
Yeah, this one I had noted. Hold on. Yeah. Your astrological sign. Do you believe in astrology?
Oh, I'm a Sagittarius.
So, what do you think about Sagittarius? Do you actually relate to it? Do you know much about it?
I think too much about astrology. I don't like astrology because it's I was talking to my friend and she was like, "This is fake religion."
Astrology.
So we don't like having people distilled into such simple terms, to say okay, 8% of the population or whatever always acts like this, and this like this. So, but with that said, I'm an absolute textbook Sagittarius. There's never been a more Sagittarius than what I mean, look at me, I'm taking a ton of projects I can't handle. I can't keep my foot in one place. I've lived in a bunch of cities. I can't pick a fucking city. I'm constantly... Even when I'm in a fucking city, I'm moving constantly. I've lived in 3 apartments since I moved back to Seattle during COVID. I've been to 3 fucking different places. What would you say?
Like, are your top favorite artists?
Okay, the Stooges, for sure, man. Like, the fucking Stooges are where, that's life right there.
Yeah. Great.
Los Psychos are, right up there. James Brown. It has to be James Brown at the top.
Yeah.
Let's see. It's hard to pick a favorite, obviously. That's such a dumb thing for me to say.
Are you a Nirvana fan?
What?
Are you a Nirvana fan?
Of course I'm a Nirvana fan. And I remember reading Kurt's diaries and reading... Have you ever read the book Heavier Than Heaven?
No, I haven't looked at that one.
There was this... Speaking of the Rocket, there was a writer named Charles Cross. He's like a rock writer from Seattle. He's a legend. And he wrote, like, my favorite Kurt Cobain book ever.
Okay.
Like, called Heavier Than Heaven. It was the name of a tour they were on in Europe. And it's fucking amazing. Like it's like really cool on two different levels. Number one, because it's Kurt, it's Nirvana, it's all that shit. But also, like, you're in the Pacific Northwest right now, and so being here is such a vibe. And I think having a book that really captures like the depression and the rain and the, I don't know, all of it is just it's a good one. But I do like Nirvana a lot.
Alright, so what would be like a all-time favorite song, or like a song that you can always listen to?
I love Aneurysm.
Aneurysm, okay, yeah.
It's just those four chords that just descend on each other. It's so fucking hooky.
I just love that fucking riff. I don't know why that never ended up on like a proper record, really. Like,
Yeah,
what a fucking cool song. There's like a few like that were just so good.
a few that slid it, yeah.
Yeah.
How do you feel about the Strokes? Are you a fan?
Dude, the Strokes blew my mind when I was like a teenager. That's when I came of age. So like I mean, no one was cooler than the Strokes for a period of time. I mean, it's so funny to look back at it because they've got like the one guy's got like the side hair. It's all like so early 2000s and everything, and so dorky. But like at the time, like it was getting so bad with like I remember being a kid and everybody was into fucking like nu metal, and like the industry was so awful, and there was just the same shit on the radio. It was like Stained and Creed.
It was like Corn and
post grunge. Hoobastank.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Like just post grunge, and they're trying to market shit that it didn't work anymore because grunge was about getting rid of the hair metal thing. You know what I mean? Grunge was saying fuck that. So now we're trying to commoditize this fuck that attitude. You can't commoditize that. So what can you do? You just look further in the past. And so it was just cool at the time because the White Stripes, the Strokes were just suddenly like pulling from this discography that like anybody who played an instrument like me, that played guitar, we already know all these old songs they're pulling from, or a lot of them. And we're listening to classic rock, we're into that. And so it was just the perfect time for bands like that to like strike and just dominate. And I hope we have another, I think we're due for something like that, you know? We got a little taste of it with the Psych thing reviving, you know, and Levitation becoming a big deal, and Desert Days and all these festivals. And I mean, that's why I'm thriving right now. It is sort of, I'm seeing the seeds of that. Like, it's just...
Yeah. I totally agree. I think about like how, you know, some artists that do put together like their own festival, like one I can think of is like Tyler the Creator, the Camp Flognaw, and like that's still going even though like COVID happened and they're still trying to find like ways to make it like a revive. But and like in the actual community though, I feel like there's going to be that strike whenever it was really common for like a lot of bands to go to like every venue and play shows and like actually like it'd be a thing again. I can only see that in our future, but that's also me being optimistic because like we do have like a lot of virtual reality stuff now.
Yeah, I think people really need to embrace the experiential in the next 20 years because we need to stop worshiping things. We need to stop worshiping material possessions. We need to stop worshiping materialism, and it's causing every problem in our society to be materialistic, to be to be a consumer in the way we are. And I think that that is a big issue with how we interface with the world. And so I think shit like what I'm doing is the future, because we're not going to have much else, dude. We're running out of shit. We're running out of resources. So what the fuck else is the point of living if it's, I mean, if you're just on earth to consume that shit, you're fucked. You know, you have to embrace another way of life in order to keep moving forward. And we don't need that much. What do we need? We need to fucking eat. We need to fucking breathe. You know, we need medical care. Like, you don't need a ton of other shit in life, you know. So I'm kind of fed up hearing, like, I've had people I've met tell me that, I'm like, what do you do for fun? They're like, I online shop, or like I go to this part of town where I shop, you know. I do, like, I'm like, why are you going out and spending all your fucking money on that instead of going to an event and talking to people and enjoying life, you know, and embracing it? And so I think that if we want to solve the climate crisis, we need to solve the crisis within, you know.
Yes. I totally agree. Now, before we go, some of the last essential questions, you know, are you a fan of sativa or indica?
Indica, but the acetone weed that we have is a sativa, which is crazy. But it kind of fits my personality. I'm a sativa personality, and I smoke indica to come down, so I'm an indica.
Oh yeah, fire sign, right? Right?
Yeah, I need the indica. Put some water on that fire.
Yeah, so key. That's why the tracks are hot tracks. Alright, so another essential vibe osmosis question. Guilty pleasure.
Ooh. Oh, it's got to be something with TV. I watch a lot of TV, so that's already is the guilty pleasure in itself. But I'm trying to think of the worst thing I watched. Oh, I loved it so much. There's this show that came out called Outlander, where this woman is in World War II, and she's a medic, and she somehow gets transported back to the 1700s and falls in love with this like Scottish warrior. And I lost the volume on you. Why did it go quiet? Oh, there it goes.
Wi-Fi. Yeah.
Oh yeah, that happens. But anyways, yeah, you should see Outlander. It's my biggest guilty pleasure. And you've seen it. You have seen it.
I've seen some of it.
Yeah, I loved it.
You got a new season now, right?
It's so fucking dumb, and like every time you're like, God damn it, Claire, what are you about to do? You're messing with history, like. Yeah.
All right. Yeah, out of like favorite TV shows, what other kind of TV shows do you like?
Oh my God, the best TV shows of all time. I mean, everybody says this, but The Sopranos and The Wire.
I like them too. I've watched all of The Sopranos. I haven't finished The Wire, but I grew up watching The Sopranos because my parents used to buy it on like VHS, and they had like, season after season after season. And it was like the shit. Whenever your parents are gone, you go and take it, you watch because you know you can't watch it.
Yeah, we had so the actor that plays Christopher Moltisanti on The Sopranos, Michael Imperioli, he's got a band called Zopa, and they played Freak Out one year. And if you've been to Freak Out, you know bands play like multiple sets. They play a few times. So I love this fucking guy. So I had them play like 3 times at the fest, and it was an excuse for us to get this motherfucker out to see. Skylar and I, my partner in Freak Out, Skylar, we were like listening to the Sopranos podcast a ton during the pandemic. Yeah, and so we got obsessed with him and got obsessed more with his, he had a band. So I found them on Instagram and we started talking and brought them out it was the first festival I think they played. And we had a blast, dude. They were so cool. So.
All right. So, in the nutshell, how would you explain your music to somebody that never heard it?
I would say it's rock and roll with a big dose of psychedelia and soul. And I'm just providing some commentary on the modern condition. That's really what it's all about. That's why it's personal. It's personal to me, and I think it's personal to other people.
And do you remember your first acid trip?
Hell yeah.
All right. Can you explain a little bit of it?
Yeah,
Any messages or anything that you got?
I screamed into the rain. I was by the ocean. It was raining, and I saw a lot of the visual shit that everybody sees. I kind of dry humped the bed for a long time.
I've kind of done that with mushrooms. Where
I
it's
don't know
like,
why I got so horny at the end of the night, but yeah, it was really bizarre. Yeah, it was a cool trip. I really enjoyed that.
have you ever played a show on drugs?
Oh fuck yeah, a lot. I played a show on acid quite a few times, and cocaine a lot, and
all right. So
weed all the time. Still, I don't do other drugs now, but
would you consider it like was it a bomb or was it like a good experience?
doing well half the time, half and half. You know what? Me on cocaine just sucks. Like I've done a lot of shows on blow, and maybe 3 of them have been good, and the rest have can kind of suck. And I regret every show I ever did on cocaine. But
Really
I don't regret doing the acid shows, and one of the best ones was the first year my last birthday I played Freak Out. Someone gave me a handful of mushrooms that I thought I was microdosing basically, but they were all kind of crumbled up, and I just ate everything. And it was a fucking lot. And I had this really intense mushroom trip on stage during the Molly's birthday set, and it was the same night that the Mystery Lights played. And we just had this crazy party, and I was doing all these weird faces and shit while I was playing, but it was such a cool set. It kicked so much ass. I had so much fun, and I don't regret that one. That was like a beautiful mushroom trip being played out in real time on stage. So. I think that's the safe way to go, man. Like,
yeah,
people don't need MDMA and coke and all that shit right now. There's too much fentanyl in it, and it fucked me up for the last 10 years. So, stick to the stuff that is good for you. But the earth wants you to eat the mushrooms.
Okay. Also, before we go, I got two more questions I can probably fit in here that I think. I wrote down for this one. Yeah, so would you consider yourself optimistic or pessimistic?
Optimistic, without a doubt.
Okay, so whenever is it like a boost, like that you're telling yourself? Is it like a pep talk, or do you think like this is like more of like a confidence thing? You know what I mean?
Both.
I think that. So what's one thing that you think that you tell yourself in your head?
Okay. I do that in the mornings. I have to do that to get myself out of the house and out of my to do.
It's like a first thing you think of whenever you wake up.
I get so depressed, so I have to sit in the shower when it's ending and talk to myself about how everything's gonna be okay. We're all gonna be successful. What we do, art matters. Just certain. Boosting things that are your life matters, this is gonna happen. You kind of have to manifest the positivity, On the flip side, I am just naturally throwing out confidence, so it's both.
Yeah. And also, I guess, before we go, is there anybody, you want to shout out, or, thank, or, have, any advice or anything like that before we go?
Yeah, take care of your people. I really appreciate everybody that helps me out. I can't do this alone, and I need a lot of fucking people to help. So I give a lot of props to the people in my life that make these things happen, and there's a million to name, but,
I mentioned my partner Skylar with Freak Out, with Acid Tongue. I work with a really great band of people, Ian, Faith, Sean, Tim. They're all so crucial to my daily life that I think always respect who you're around, respect who's helping you, take care of your people, and try to be cognizant of their emotions, have some empathy, that sort of stuff. That's so crucial to getting ahead in this industry.
Yeah, I totally agree.
Jesus is a listening when you pray.